Welcome, everybody, back to the Nullified Take, where we have the TNT takes for you. We are live and alive. This is a Saturday morning here in Australia. If you are tuning in from stateside, welcome, everybody, to the Nullified Take for your season 44, episode 11 of Survivor Review. My name is the Big Kahuna. I'm going to be joined very shortly by Jake Jebediah Jacobson. One of the regular hosts for the Nullified Take Survivor Recap and Review. I am, of course, taking up some very big shoes to fill today for our hostess with the mostest. Chris is, of course, doing his travel thing at the moment. He's, I think, going between Houston and Florida or something along those lines. And I'm stepping in. I'm hoping we have a good episode today, a good show. We've already got some people in the live. I want to send a big Nullified Take shout out to Chris. Hi, everyone. Excited to talk about how Caroline served this past episode. Served, saved? Either way, I think it's a fitting thing because Caroline definitely served a lot. So we're going to be going through a few of the different things today. So there's Chris again. Hi, Chris. Thank you again for joining us. I hope I do all right. There's a lot of pressure on me today because Chris has been doing this for a long time and obviously does it with great aplomb and great skill. So I'm navigating my first time using the software, my first time hosting on the Nullified Take. So I'm excited. Thank you for everyone for being there with us. Of course, Dolores. Hi, everyone. Love to hear the take. Was Carolyn right in her idol reveal move? Interesting. We're going to get to all of that. So that's going to be fun. And of course, Dolores sending me the shout out with 2 love hearts, no less. Not 1, but 2. Thank you so much, Dolores. So, okay. There we go. Clarification, Chris served. She served realness and excellence. She did. Oh, there we go. So look at this comment, by the way. It shows my skill and aptitude at this. I've got my co-host commenting to let me in. I will do that right now for you, Jake. How do I bring him in? Add to stream. There we go. Look at him.
There we go.
Mr. Jake Jebediah Jameson himself from Arizona. I'm you know what I'm happy about? We've got a really good episode of Survivor, Jake.
Right.
But I'm also really happy that the Suns have been knocked out of the playoffs.
Oh, you little.
Just saying.
I was hoping to forget that even happened.
I
That
thought
was a disgrace.
I'll just bring it up, put it out there. But like I said, we've got stuff to take your mind off that debacle of having one of the greatest scorers of all time. We got an episode of Survivor to get to. But before we do that, I want to send a big shout out to before. Now, I want to clarify here, while I've got the live chat and I can actually control things, before Chris says before Danny Cab. And every time he says this, I look at it and go, is that Danica B or Danny Cab? And I don't know. So I'm going to put it out there for before Danny Cab / Danica B to let us know which way it is. And she's, of course, saying hello to me. She's saying hello to everyone and a special shout out to Jake as well. So that's before Danica B / Danny Cab. Either way, I'm not sure. We're going to find out, hopefully. But Jake, a great episode of Survivor. Before we get into any of it, I want to just put it out there for the audience, the live tribe that's tuning in with all the comments. Do for me right now your best De Niro face.
No,
I
can't.
Just it's nearly there. You just put it's nearly there. I think you were close.
Listen, that scene, I almost had to turn off the TV. I was cringing. I think Danny was a really good addition to this cast, but secondhand embarrassment was going crazy as I was watching that. Jeff
didn't know what to do. He's like,
what? Yeah,
he's just standing there, and he let it go way too long as well. That bit where it passes over, and he's just he's standing there with the face. It's off my torch. Yes,
so I know he did it again. And I was like, just stop, make it stop.
So we've got Dolores. I'll say Jake in the house. Jake, I'm a Heat fan. Lived in Miami for over 50 years, so it was embedded. I'm actually a Lakers fan. So even though I don't necessarily have anything against the Suns, Um, I was very happy because it means KD doesn't face LeBron in the conference finals if we get there. We've got Christian Gal saying, "Hey TNT, what's up?" Chris, saying that De Niro impression was so awkward, it went on too long. And that's kind of the brilliance of it, I thought. Maybe that's what made it actually stand out. It was just a little bit too long, completely awkward. And of course, there we go. There's some clarification. My name is Danica. My original email is Danica Beast. My last name started with B. Married such to before Danica for whatever reason. There you go. I'm gonna take that as a win for me in the queen and let Chris
Yeah,
have some.
that's wow, good instinct. I
Yeah.
never would have guessed that.
Dolores said, I feel Jeff was cringing too.
Definitely.
And Caswash, yeah, I was cringing so hard at Danny, like, please just go. So it was great. And a really good episode overall. We, of course, lose Danny in the end, but we're going to break down everything today, Jake. So we start off the episode, number 11, that is in season 44, and we're getting close to the end. So not that many people left. And we start back at camp where Caroline is, of course, freaking out after being left out of the Franny vote, someone that she got very close to. And Chris has mentioned this a couple times over the past few weeks that he's saying that Carson's relationship management and the fact that he's in with everyone could potentially come back to bite him when he starts having to betray and backstab. And maybe we saw a little bit of it here, a crumbling of the relationship between Carolyn and the Tika Three Stooges because they kept her out of the vote. Carolyn, unpredictable personality, she's freaking out. They have to go into management. What did you think of this starting to the episode with Carolyn feeling the way she was, being emotional, and the others trying to have to manage her?
I mean, I knew this was going to happen because Carolyn is just an emotional person, and I feel like she just can't. I mean, they even said it at the tribal council in this episode. She just says what's on her mind, and she can't not show that she was really pissed off that they voted off her closest ally and left her out of it. I think that everybody did a good job of trying to explain it but I feel like Carolyn already really knew why. I mean, Franny was a challenge beast. It was pretty obvious. I think that it wasn't a attack on her, like specifically taking out Franny to hurt Carolyn. So she was like, ugh, I'm pissed, but I'm just gonna have to move on. And that's what she did. And she ended up saving one of the people that betrayed her in the previous episode.
What's the statute of limitations on being pissed after a vote? Because I've said over this season that Jam Jam has probably played the perfect way when votes go against you. He comes back, he plays it off as he uses his humor, he uses charisma, he laughs it off and says, "It's okay, I know it's part of the game," and he kind of makes a joke of it, gets them laughing. Carolyn comes back and is just like, I need my time to be pissed. I need a moment to please let me be angry. And they're saying, keep your family stuff in South. We don't want to do it in front of Soko and Ratu, but Carolyn needs that moment, that time where she can actually have that explosion. And it's kind of what we love about Carolyn. She comes back the next day, fine. like any real relationship, her and Jam Jam are close, legitimately to the point where they have their tiff, they have their fight, but come back together the next day. Meanwhile, Danny, however, he got a vote against him. He was the one that was getting a little bit paranoid, a little bit freaking out, trying to figure out who cast that vote against him. And of course, it was his number one, Heidi. Interesting choice. She's now had to dig herself out of a grave that she's dug herself, she said. And she admitted it, which I think was pretty great. But yeah, Danny wanting to know who the vote against him which was interesting to see as well. He's trying to track it down.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a really funny turn of events, leading through that, of him like asking everybody, and I don't know, because it's so awkward. Like if I was on Survivor, I would be so, I would also be upset. Like, who's writing my name down, especially when I'm not like the main target, like just a throwaway vote. Like that would also rub me the wrong way. But I don't know if I would have it in me to like go up to everybody individually and be like, so did you do it? You do it? Huh? Yeah, it was
One
you.
Yeah. I mean, one thing Danny's shown us is that arrogance and his ability to not care what people necessarily think has not served him well, potentially to his downfall. But we had on the way, the two different approaches. Carolyn venting her emotion, Danny trying to get maybe getting only one vote, by the way, that we saw. So Danny getting paranoid a little bit about it. But we have before Danica B saying, I think Carolyn is emotional in the moment, but not stupid. She recovers and get her head back in the game. Exactly what we are saying. And Chris backing that up for Danica. 100%. She had a moment, but she regrouped. And then Dolores was saying, I feel Carolyn feels more for Jam Jam than he does for her. Okay, I feel Jam Jam would throw her under the bus in a New York minute. That's the interesting sort of thing that's going to play out. And we saw when Carolyn was having her emotional outburst, Jam Jam was like, "I just got to walk away." Like, and she said, she goes, "You did it to me," and she goes, "That was once, ages ago." He goes, "Well, this is once." And what does Carolyn say? It just happened. It's just let me have that moment of time. And as I said before, Carolyn comes back the next day, all is forgotten. She realizes that the two Tika is where she should be and kind of calms down. And that's probably how I would be as well. I'd come back. I've said Jam Jam is the best way to handle votes going against you. I think, however, I'd probably be more like a Carolyn. Just come back and be like, what the hell? What happened? And the next day, like, I get it. It's cool. You know, you got to kind of have that ability to bounce back. And they do this, Jake. One of the things that would really, really annoy me being out there in Survivor, I know you want to be a competitor on Survivor one day. And I look forward to that, being able to do commentary on you being out there in the sand. But one thing that I would really, really not like about being on Survivor, 20 days into this journey, you're starving, you're physically being put through the ringer. There's so much emotional, strategically, you're really getting pushed. And then on day 20, if someone told me I had to sit down and do a yoga circle and talk about my feelings would not be very happy. I can tell you that right now. What do you think about these down days that we're seeing? We talk about on the show in the new version of Survivor, we want more of the camp life. We want to see what's going on. What goes on these down days is that they literally have nothing to do to the point where they have to do yoga circles and talk about their feelings, Jay.
Yeah. I mean, I would just have to go with it if I were out there. I don't know if I could do it either. I mean, just I get that it's like a bonding experience. You know, you're all in it together. You know, you are the unique people that are on this season. You guys have that distinction, and so you know that brings you together, and so you feel inclined to, you know, deeply bond with them. But I don't know, like in a yoga, it's just awkward. Like, how does this like come to be?
Yeah.
You know, like it feels forced. You know,
I, I
I want
I
it to be
would
more
definitely feel
organic.
forced. I would
Yeah,
100% feel forced because it would have that connotation as well. Like if you're not participating, are you now are you on the out? Are you not? You
yeah.
know, it's such an interesting thing, and then someone like Jamie Lynn gets to run yoga sessions for the entire tribe. And if you don't participate, are you a bad tribe mate? Are you know? It's fascinating that they have to go through that sort of thing. So we said before, Dolores pointed out that Carolyn feels more for Yamian than he does for her, and Jam Jam would throw her under the bus in a New York minute. Danica B responded that she totally gets that. I'm one who has to step away to put my emotions in check, but I need that moment. And Dolores said, good point. I can see that happening. If he doesn't need her anymore, being Jam Jam and Carolyn, I can see him as a vengeful juror if he gets voted off. Interesting, interesting. So we go from Yoga Circle to then, um, as I said, Carolyn woke up the next day, calm, cool, collected, back into the Tika fold, and they kind of start making, their plans for what's going to happen. Jam Jam even asked Carolyn in smoothing it over, Did you find the Tika idol, the birdcage idol? And Carolyn plays it off that no, she doesn't. What do you think about this approach this far in the game? Her number one connection. She said from the get go she's not going to tell anyone about her idol until she needs to. Gets approached by Jam Jam here and still denies it to his face.
I think it was smart because at that point, she still may not have the sense of like, okay, they went against me last vote, but was it really just a one-time thing? Or are they, kind of done with me? And, you tell them you have an idol, then that could, put a wrench in things. And she wasn't ready yet. She didn't think it was the right time, and I think that's perfect. I know it is Chris's least favorite thing or most infuriating thing that contestants do is tell people about their idols when you have zero reason to. And I think Chris was clapping as he was watching this, just way to go. And then, yeah, later on when she finally does, she had kind of already made up her mind, it seemed like, that she wanted to save Carson and that she was fairly confident that Carson was the target. So truly did wait until it was what she thought was necessary.
So we get that moment where she comes back to the Tika fold. She apologizes for freaking out. I just needed that time. Come back. Carson's, trying to manage that relationship. Jam Jam's connecting back in with her, and everything seems cool to the point where we get another. Like we only have next season we're gonna have 90-minute episodes, Jack. At
Hmm.
the moment, we only have the short ones, and we've got a down day shown with the yoga, and then we have another down moment shown, which I'm not complaining about at all. But to get Carolyn with her new lobster tiara, um, to the point where we get this episode title, "I'm not worthy of this shell of a lobster that apparently is gold out there," because Lauren jumped at the chance to get it. And then Carolyn's like, no, 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 let's actually go scissors, paper, rock, or whatever it was. They were fighting for the lobster tiara. And then she adds to it with her crab finger, which is one of the one of the greatest things I've seen in Survivor, I think. It's pretty great.
I thought I thought it was great. And I think that, there's got to be tons of moments like these out there, and they've posted a lot of secret scenes, so it's just making me more excited for the 90-minute episodes next season when they have even more time to show these types of moments. I think, though, I am a bit confused what the big deal was with the shell. It was kind of gross, if
She's
I'm
gonna
being
put it in her
honest.
hair. Yeah, the fact
Like
that they
it's
were
like
fighting
a
over it.
it's like a rotted, ugh, gross. The finger was cool.
The
I
finger
like
was
that.
cool.
The
You get,
you can scratch your chin
from so much
all
further away.
so much
You can
further
just
away.
keep your arm over here. You
Yeah.
don't need to. There's none of this movement,
Hmm.
which makes it difficult, right?
Yep.
And Jam asks her, where should I go take an ocean dump? And she points just over there. And it's closer. It gives a better direction as to where it
Exactly.
is. Alright. So a great moment for Carolyn again. Like I said, everything she does, if she's losing in a challenge, if she's just sitting on the beach, if she's freaking out about being left out of a vote, she's just completely entertaining, right? She's just always on something that will put her in front of the camera is people are going to love that.
I
Let's have a
think
look at.
that sorry, I think
No,
that
go.
the producers are kicking themselves that they didn't do 90-minute episodes one season earlier
Yeah,
because of like,
yeah,
or they're just going to be like, Carolyn, can you just come on next season too, just so we can, have a good first 90-minute episode season,
yeah. We need
really
more
put,
lobster crowns, more
yes.
crab fingers. So on Carolyn being upset at first, we of course have Lexapowers replying to Danica. I feel that because Franny is so athletic, she wouldn't have ever been able to fit in with. Oh, sorry, that was a response to this one. I think it was this one. No, that's Lexapower again. I'm losing. I'm just not as good at this as Chris because so many awesome comments. I want to bring them up, but there's a lot of them here. So, and everyone replying to everyone else. Okay, let's see. Dolores, we'll start it here. All right, I'm going to get this under control, folks. I feel Carolyn feels more for Jam Jam than he does. Yep, we've done that one already. And then Danica replied, totally get that. I want to step away. We did that one as well. Sorry, folks. Dolores, good point. I can see that happening if he doesn't need
That
her anymore.
one.
Yep. The Alexa Power was a start. I think Carolyn was very upset also because she really bonded with Franny, but I think that they made the right decision by booting Franny. She has too much of an immunity threat. Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And Danica saying, I wish Franny had been able to join Carolyn's group. That was the one I was looking for. Because then Lexa said, I feel that because Franny is so athletic, she wouldn't have ever been able to fit in with the Jam Jam, Carol, and Carson because all three of them label themselves as non-athletic, even if they are. So the Three Stooges, could Franny have broken into that group of the Three Stooges, considering that she was such a threat and kind of she's nerdy as well. She was one of the misfits, I thought.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Did the Three Stooges there was a fourth one that kind of came? Are the Three Stooges brothers? I forget this. Are they
I think
brothers?
I think they played off as brothers, but technically they weren't actually brothers. I think the fourth one eventually later might have been one of their brothers they brought in to replace.
So there could have been a fourth.
There could have been. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Yeah.
So Alexa Power actually said that Franny was always too much of an athletic immunity threat, and until modern Survivor diversifies the challenges, physical athletic strength is too threatening. Danica said Jam Jam is going to be pissed she didn't share that info with him, especially after asking her directly. Yeah, so that's the idol for the play. Will that come back to bite her from Jam Jam? They've got the relationship directly. He asked her to her face, and she flat out says no. But then she told Carson about the idol. I think Carolyn telling Carson now was right. She felt like Carson was floating away from her, and she needed a way to bring him back to her. So lots of Carolyn content showing the emotional side, showing the wacky side, showing how zany and absolutely magnetic she is on screen. And it was during this time when we're having that downtime talking about different confessionals and things. Carson then says he thinks that the Tika Three, the Three Stooges, are really playing under the radar. They don't know what's going on, and then we immediately get that contrast and edited with Ratu and Soka noticing Tika and making plans for Jam Jam and Carson to potentially be the voted out. Danny drives out. He goes towards the others and says, "Hey, we need to do something here because Tika's kind of," and they're all there. They're all agreeing. Heidi then says it's hard to vote for Jam Jam because he's so likable. Danny, showing that arrogance again, goes, really? Is it? I voted for Franny. Super simple, not that hard. And I don't know if that was the editors dropping in the little, you know, what's the phrase, the old thing about um
Foreshadowing.
it's foreshadowing, yes, but the pride cometh before the fall. That sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of Danny's things. He's doing flips and he's doing somersaults all the time and says it's just a game. He doesn't care when there are people around him that show that they do. So, yeah, and that leads us to the challenge, a classic one, one that we've seen many times before called Last Gasp, and where it involves our survivors hanging on to these rails in the ocean, and however long they can stay there, the person who hangs on for the longest wins while the tide is slowly rising, essentially waterboarding these people into like giving up their immunity. This is a classic challenge. We've seen it many times over. We've seen it done effectively. We've seen it done for a long time, to the point, again, I haven't seen 42 and 43, but I've heard and believe that last season, I think this challenge almost basically got broken. They were on there for so long. And then we see it replayed again this season. One thing that we've been saying is that we don't like that the challenge being recycled and rewashed over and over again. But this is not one that is particularly hard to prepare for, unless, of course, you're Carson with a bathtub.
You know what's so funny is I was watching with my girlfriend, and she, like 2 seconds before Carson said that, said the same exact thing. She's like, "Oh, I used to play this in my bathtub when I was younger, just for fun, because she would also like her and her sister would like build survivor like challenges in their backyard, and play pretend like they were out there, and their mom would pretend to be Jeff. So she's really been studying, um, and then Carson just had to steal her line right afterward. But it felt a little creepy. Like it was right after she said it, and I was like, what the heck? Um, so he's just practicing everything, even if it's in his bathtub. He 3D prints things. Did he 3D print the bathtub? Did he 3D print the grate that goes
he,
in the
he
water?
probably had the tide charts. Things like that figured out. So it's a good challenge. It's one that tests probably your mental endurance more than the physical endurance. It's not that hard to float in water for a long period of time. It is incredibly difficult to have water slowly rise up the side of your face and cut off your breathing, and every time there's a wave or whatever, it just flows over your mouth, closes everything, and you have that instant moment of panic. And even with Carson having his opportunity to practice in the bathtub and 3D printing grates and all that sort of thing, we see him go out, I think, in third position, but we end up with Heidi and Jam Jam as the final two competitors, which is a different from what we've seen. Jam Jam's first win coming up, Danny out of the equation, Franny voted off last week, so now an opportunity opens up for other people, and Jam Jam takes that. Endurance wise, he's got. You know what I was thinking? I was trying to figure out, because people have their techniques, right? The hand snorkel is
Mhm.
obviously the tried and tested. One thing I noticed that Jam Jam was doing was that he was constantly treading water, like on his back, but his feet were moving, his feet were floating. And I mentioned that, did Carson know the tide charts and that sort of thing? I wonder if, like, I don't know. I'm not that big in the water, but I float in water, and it's probably, I'm just a personal flotation device myself. But I'm wondering, by him doing that action and not being as rigid on the grates, like when Carson did it, he actually looped his feet up
Yeah.
over, like, in the grates, and that freaked me out as well, because if you get to the point where you're not able to breathe anymore and your legs get stuck while he's trying to,
I was
like,
thinking the exact same
yeah,
thing.
I was like
Like
freaking
that.
out.
Yeah, like yeah, what if you like accidentally like twist your foot so it like gets stuck? You're gonna like bonk your head when you're coming forward. Like that's good, or you're gonna like actually drown like by
Yeah,
accident. Like
it's so scary. But
I
Jam
yeah.
Jam's keeping it loose. He's flowing. He's treading the
Hmm.
water, and I wonder, by him doing that a little bit more, than rather than being rigid against the grate, does he have a little bit more of a feeling when the wave is actually, you know what I mean, when it comes up little bit more, and you can anticipate it more. You can take that breath at the right moment, rather than just hanging on for dear life and then getting completely shocked when the water washes it. Because I think that's what gets a lot of them. They're up there,
Right.
then you see this one wave come over, and they just freak
Yeah.
out. They're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
That yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good point. I think so you think he was like using his feet as like
I don't
kind
know,
of
but when you're in the water, you can feel it, like, ebbing and flowing. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So maybe I'm I'm trying to gamify a game where it's like, hold on to your last breath until you don't die,
No, there
right?
has to be more to it. There has to be. No, but really, that would if that wasn't what he was doing, then, whatever, but that would be smart, to yeah, not have it take you off guard so you can like be like, okay, this is just a wave that's coming. I'm not
Yeah,
actually, just mentally kind of prepare because as you said, when those waves can come, your brain goes into panic mode
yeah.
and that makes you freak out and hop out the challenge.
So we did see Jam Jam hold on even longer than he needed to. Didn't hear that the challenge was over. He's like, I could do this for ages, Jeff. Don't
Yeah.
worry. And we get probably one of the greatest celebrations for it,
Oh
for
my
an
gosh.
immunity win. He's doing spins. He's like getting up, and it shows again why Jam Jam is great television as well. The fact that they've got Carolyn and Jam Jam together this season, helping each other along so they go further and not get kicked out earlier in the game Jeff would be loving that so much, right? And then we get this is what I want to throw out as well. When we have the water challenges, we always look for who's going to win, but one thing that I always look out for, Jake, is when Jeff sends them back after the win, what the dismount looks like from the floating platform. Do you do a flip? Do you do a bomb? Is it all that sort of thing? And what did you think of Jam Jam's winning dismount? Because it was kind of like this weird, like he went to do a semi bomb, and then I think he realized, because being a bigger dude myself, much bigger than Jam Jam, I think what happened is he went to do the jump, do the tuck where you pull your legs into your for the good old fashioned bomb, and realize, oh, I can't get my feet up that high. And he kind of did a half thing and flashed in the water, and then Danny followed it up with the somersault after.
I think I didn't catch, or I don't remember exactly what it looks like, but that sounds graceful, to say the least. That is really funny though, that he, like, if if he's like, maybe I can get him. No, I can't. And just like in the middle, it's just like, I can't. No.
Yeah, he's not sure yet. He's because they've lost so much weight, right? And
That's true.
He's like, oh, I've lost.
Yeah.
Maybe I can pull it. Nope, can't quite pull it
Or
off.
maybe he just he hasn't done that move in a while. Maybe
it's
he's
a tough one. It's a tough one. So Jam Jam wins the challenge, and we're talking about the appropriate techniques to use there. And Dolores pointed out that this challenge was broken last year, that they actually outlasted the Tide.
I can't. Oh yeah, you haven't seen that season, have you?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah, it was two people. The Tide went down, and so there was no point to keep going, because then
they just hang there.
They're just hanging there, and the water was way below their heads at that point. So Jeff was like, I guess we're done. You both get immunity. So
wow. Yeah. So I mean, we weren't even close to that, but I can see, like, maybe they were doing the treading technique as well. That
I think they did. I remember they definitely did the snorkel. The straw with making the straw with your hands. And I remember it being like, they were like spitting up a ton of water. Like it would go over them, and they would just go, just like spit it right out. They're like, get this out of here. Just,
yeah, that's the technique.
They're just like, they just power through. I think they were just like, get it. I'm just going. I don't care. Water's
and
coming
hope
in.
that
Just
you
get it
can
out.
get the tiniest bit of oxygen in the meantime. Yeah. All right, we're going to send a big shout out to Chris Hale. Just jumped on that airport internet before heading out to my accommodation. Nice. And he said, massive shout out to him for running the live tonight. Of course, the big shoes to fill. Everyone send a big shout out back to Chris, handing the keys over to the kingdom for me today. And thank you. I did say that I was a little bit worried, but Chris has assured me that I was okay. And then Chris as well said that the live is in good hands. I mentioned before, Jake, that I was a bit worried about how I'm doing with the thing, and I'm getting lots of praise saying that I'm doing just fine. Right, doing a great job.
You're doing great as well.
Thank you so much. I need that reassurance. I need, like, people to make me feel good. And look at that. There's Danica. Did you hear? I don't know if you heard that earlier, Chris, if you're still watching, but before Danny Cab mentioned that it's probably more accurately before Danica B. So I'm going to go with that. It said, hey, Chris, they're doing great. Thank you. Dolores. Carla said that it looked like they moved the challenge location mainly because she outlasted that challenge. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Carla was one of the people that outlasted in the last season.
Chris said again, awesome. Check out the full live later on. I'll see everyone for the challenge live tomorrow night. He has to get his plug in, of course. We're doing the challenge tomorrow, Survivor today. And people are saying to Chris that we're doing okay, Jake. We're getting props to the boss. So that's good. Lexa Power, you laugh and make fun of getting the Tide charts, but when I used to work as a second assistant director on film set, that's one of the responsibilities. Wow, Tides are super important. Of course.
Just get rid of the moon, then you won't have to deal with it.
Tyson said that if he was there, he would take a deep breath, go under the water, and look at the remaining players.
No, he wouldn't. Think about this. Think about this. So are they saying that, like, because Jam Jam would... is this referring to like when Jam Jam is by himself, but he doesn't know that he's won yet? Like, is Tyson saying he would like periodically go under and see like, oh, there's nobody left, I won.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
Because yeah, like you're in your groove, you're in the zone, and you're just gonna throw that away just to see if you're the last one
And you're also
remaining.
like sucking in the smallest amount of breath before
Yes,
you have to blow out more water, and that ratio of
yeah.
inhaling to exhaling gets completely blown out of the water. Really good fit there, I think, to say it's blown out of the water. But yeah, like that's gone. To be able to then take a deep breath, go under the water, look around, and then come back up to what?
How
You
would
don't
you
know
even
where.
take a deep breath?
Yeah,
You
you're
can't.
like
You're not taking deep breaths. Yeah,
like just the
that's
smallest
not
amount.
happening. Exactly. Yeah.
So Alexa Power said Brenda won this challenge in Karamoan by looping her legs inside. So that's why Carson tried that
Uh,
method. Okay. It worked
okay.
for Brenda. Mind over matter, it helps you stay in play. Both techniques have pros. Yeah, the mind over matter bit is the hard thing for me because the mind would be freaking the hell out, I'm sure. Uh and I think this is what we were trying to get towards. If you've got your legs looped over, what if you get a cramp in your foot, Dolores says? And you're like hanging under the water, just like with your foot stuck. Oh. Let's see.
It's-
The spirit of Jam Jam's victory celebration reminded me of Vesepia when she won the million.
oh my
Brought me to
gosh. Yeah.
tears. So moving. Yeah, he feels strong, doesn't he? Him and Caroline. Maybe one of the reasons why we love them so much is that they show their feelings and they're not hiding everything. They're putting it out there, and we kind of love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's absolutely what I love about them, and they're just funny. They're
they're great.
funny. Yeah.
Um, Lex is saying Jam Jam is brave for jumping in with his glasses. He held the immunity necklace and his glasses. I think that's maybe what happened with the half weird bomb is that he realized he's got other things to hold on to when jumping
Yeah.
into the water. uh, Danica V says last year they should have rock paper scissors for the win. Ah, okay, that's interesting. Instead of giving immunity both, you just rock paper scissors.
That'd be
They both broke it though. They both got to the end. They both
yeah.
really did what they needed to do.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You have to give it to both. There's yeah.
And then Dolores said Tyson is a trained swimmer, so Tyson was really being more cocky like he normally is. But yeah, he said he would do
True.
it periodically just to get an idea how the others were.
Hmm.
Isn't that usually the downfall? You concentrate on your own thing rather than the others when you start. We see, like, maybe not with the last gas because it would be so hard to look over and check. You have to do what Tyson's saying and be a deep sea diver apparently. But when we have the ones where it's balancing or they have to hold things, like we see as soon as they look over and check where other people are or get distracted or whatever, that's when they drop things. That's when they lose the
Yep.
concentration of the groove.
And that's why when you're thinking about it, you may think like, okay, I think maybe I could power through. Just stay in that spot and just like try to focus on nothing else except that. But then you have Jeff yapping in the back that would drive me insane.
Yeah.
That would like and Lauren, not even like 5 minutes in, Jeff asks her a question and she's like, I can't. I can't. What did you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Like that
Go
would
again.
be that would be me from second one to the last second. I would be like, I can't. Jeff, whatever you're saying, it is going in one ear, out the other. It's no
You
idea.
pull yourself out of the grave. So sorry, what was that?
Yeah. Or instead of having your mouth, you put your ear. Huh?
Yeah.
What was it?
I think Chris agrees with you there, Jake. She said Jeff's commentary would frustrate me too. I think as far as the commentary goes, like we talk about Survivor Australia versus Survivor US, and maybe because I am Australian and it's maybe that familiarity, but the way JLP commentates stuff just sits a little bit easier with me. I like the JLP laid back approach, often dropping a dick joke in there or some sort of rude comment based on the balls that they're playing with. Jeff is a little bit too serious, and it would really irk me as well, especially when you're struggling not to die with water inhalation. So after the challenge where we see Jam Jam take it, we see Jam Jam do his stunning dismount and a really great challenge that tests our survivors every season they use it. We get back to the island knowing who has immunity, what means what. We start to see the scramble. And this is where Danny approaches Lauren and Heidi and Jamie and says, we need to, take out Carson or start looking at Tika. And they're kind of, all on board to the point where Carolyn even says to Danny, is this the real plan or is this the fake plan? Right now, Carolyn is often disregarded by her fellow survivors for not being on top of her game. And maybe the way she said it probably wasn't the most tactful, but she calls Danny out and sees through his plan and says, I think he wants to target Carson, even though he's saying otherwise. And we get to see it at home, Jake, that Carolyn is seeing these things. She's seeing the game and she's playing well. Does it translate to the people in the game? Because again, she called him out to his face. Is this the real plan or is this the fake plan? Tells Carson. And, does Carolyn have that cachet or that sway with survivors?
This was one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen. Seeing her say that to Danny, because that would genuinely stump half of the players out there. Like in the moment, just like, if you're truly just, blowing smoke up their ass saying like, oh yeah, it's this person, when you're really targeting their ally and they say back to you, Souza, yeah, that's the real plan or the fake one. They would be taken off guard.
Yeah, you wouldn't know
And
what
they
to
might even, yeah, like, what? Like that could, and then it would give you even more intel on like, okay, yeah, there's no way they're actually being truthful. What awareness by Carolyn in this. I mean, you think about most of the successful idol plays from the past, most of them are somebody from the other side gives intel to somebody on the bottom, the side that's getting targeted, and then they relay that to whoever needs to play the idol, and then boom. It's rarely like, I just have an inkling,
Yeah.
or like, especially when it's like a group that is like, we're in control, or like we've been in control, and then randomly you're just like, actually no, I think we're on the bottom now, so I think we need to play the idol.
It could have been easy for them to be complacent in the position that they're in, especially Carolyn with an idol. She's just come back. Like, she doesn't even, at the start of this episode, she's saying, I don't know how I can trust you, to Jam Jam and Carson, saying, how could you have done this to me? And then she's so loyal to the point where she picks up, she sees something that the others have missed, that Carson's going to be targeted. And she not only goes to Carson to give him the heads up and lets him have time to rally, but then also says that, I could use the idol and you've got it. She comes open about it and she saved it for when she believes is the appropriate time. We get to see Carson approach Lauren and Jamie about going against Danny and giving him that opportunity now that he knows the votes are against him. So Carolyn does two things here. She puts Danny in check, calls him out, gives Carson the heads up, and then also has the idol play potentially up her sleeve as well. So she's kind of covering a few bases here, and it brings us to tribal council not knowing if the vote was going to be towards Heidi or Danny or Carson, and where it was kind of going to split. And that I think the edit showed us Carson was kind of heading home, wasn't it? As far as the edit goes, it was certainly
For
leading us that way.
for sure, it felt very reminiscent of Matt when he, in his send off episode, when it was like, oh, I've learned so much about myself, I've grown so much, I didn't think that I would do well, but I did, getting all this like, sappy, commentary, thinking like, okay, yeah, they're like giving him his flowers before he gets slaughtered by the rest of them. But that's not what happened. I was happily pleasant surprise for sure.
Yeah. He got to do his TED Talk, inspirational,
Yeah.
like, motivational speech and get up and say how Survivor's changing all. It was like he's giving his final tribal speech a little bit in
Hmm.
advance. Was he playing it, like, seeing how testing it with the jurors and
Oh.
see how it goes over? Pull it out. But
Oh, there we go.
yeah, tribal council we get to, and yeah, you're back. So
Yeah.
we're at tribal council again. Carolyn standing up for herself. When Danny says something, she goes, "I don't agree with that at all. It's not like that stupid metaphor that he used about fighters' pre-game routines and stuff." And he's just doing this, just this is Danny's like. So then Carol says, "No, I don't agree with that at all. I'm stressing. It's a difficult time." And she again got emotional, even with Jeff. Jeff says, "Are you annoyed with me?" And she says, "Yes,
Yeah.
I am," which is amazing. But what we see again here, Jake, and which really gives me a icky feeling in my stomach, because she's one of my draftees for the fantasy draft, and one I would hope and love to win. But again, even when she's coming out and flat out saying, "Yes, I'm annoyed, I'm upset," it all gets laughed off again. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, Carolyn, oh, it's so
Yeah.
silly." Even Jeff, not knowing how to approach it, not knowing what to say, because no one gets angry at Jeff. Apparently, he's like, "What do you mean? I'm just the host." But even Jeff is again not knowing how to play it off. She just consistently gets disrespected for not only her feelings but the way she plays the game. But the
Hmm.
editors are showing us she sees the moves, man. She's seeing the code in the matrix, if you will, and no one else is seeing that she's got it. But then we kind of she gets to make her play, idle play here, and she takes about 10 minutes apparently to get her vote. And we see her using every finger, working out the permutations, just figuring out if it's two here, two there, do we split, like that sort of thing. What did you think of the idle play here?
Well, good instincts for sure, as I mentioned, but very unfortunately, if you just look at the numbers, it wasn't a necessary play. She could have kept it and Danny still would have gone home. But I think that Carson is really important to her game right now. He's sort of a shield for her. I think she saw if he goes home now, those other four can just pick me and jam off.
Hmm.
I need Carson as a number or as a shield. So, I think the risk was worth it. If, Carson didn't get the majority of the votes or plurality or whatever, then whatever. You still guaranteed that he was staying in the game. Obviously, it would have been really bad if they split the vote on Carson and her, and she played the idol for somebody else and she
Yeah.
got taken out. But that's not what happened. So we can only go off of what happened. And I think it was good, as I said, just to guarantee that, a key person in your plans is staying. Now, as for her taking 10 minutes to vote, was really funny. The fact that she's like trying to, as you said, the permutations on her hand, she must have been going at lightning speed because going through all the permutations on just your hands might take more
You
than
could see
10
her do it.
minutes.
She's like, okay, so if it's two here with Danny and Heidi, and then two with Jamie and Lauren, and she's actually doing like the Spock,
Yeah.
like it's two here, two there, like trying to figure it out. I thought it was so great. Um, it, I'm a big poker player, Jake. This is something you don't know
Is
about
it?
me, right?
Okay.
And I enjoy poker. One of the difficult things in playing poker, if you know how to play the game by the book, or play, well by the rule, like what is considered meta strategy.
Hmm.
One of the difficult things is when you play people that don't know how to play, right?
Hmm.
Because they're so unpredictable and they're doing the wrong thing. So even if you do the right thing,
Yeah.
it makes your right thing look wrong because they did the wrong thing by the rule, not the rules of the game, but by what optimal strategy is.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if here, in my head, I think Carolyn did the right play. She should have done that because Jamie and Lauren should have, in my opinion.
That's That's very good.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
I
you know
know
what I mean?
exactly. Yes.
They
Yeah.
should have voted for Carson with Danny and Heidi. That
Yeah.
should have been the play. Does this
Yeah.
show that not only did Tika, so Carolyn, I think, would have made the right play if Jamie and Lauren were following the right play in air quotes as well, right?
Yeah.
That's how it should have played out if Jamie and Lauren were actually smart about it. It goes to show again either Carson's ability to scramble and rally people to his side because he got that heads up from Carolyn. He got a chance to talk with Lauren and Jamie, or it shows that they're completely. It's either a plus on Tika's side that they could still manage to get them on their side with the clear numbers advantage, or it goes to a negative on Lauren and Jamie for making what I believe to be the wrong decision. However, they're still there, so maybe that's a thing. But what do you think of Jamie and Lauren's play in siding with Tika?
I think it was kind of atrocious, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest. Like, it really makes little sense. I am very, very curious to hear if there's or to see if there's a scene next episode where they give us their thought process on that. Because just looking at the numbers, you are now not able to split up the Tika 3 unless you have an idol. It is now 3-3.
yeah, 3-3.
Unless you can get one of those three to flip, which you want to ideally take out all three of them. The ideal plan was, okay, us two now go with Heidi and Danny. 4, that beats their 3. Boom, boom, boom. Final 4. Or whatever. Take one off, then take one,
Yep.
whatever. Um, it's not possible anymore.
It's gone. That play's
uh,
gone.
Play's
It's
gone.
out of the playbook. Yep. So they don't
Mm,
have a lot of options moving forward. So when people
yeah,
say Carolyn made the wrong decision, I think she made the right decision, but it was
they
just
made the
enough.
wrong decision.
They made the wrong decision, making hers in
Yeah.
effect wrong.
Luckily,
So
though, Kahuna, the jury seems to be like, Carolyn, you boss bitch. You know, go Carolyn. So I don't think maybe they'll sit on it and think and be like, wait a second, Carson only got 2 votes. It wasn't even necessary. But
yeah.
if I'm being honest, I doubt it. Uh, I think they're still going to be like, what a beast, you know?
And it was also the tribal council where we said we see her standing up to Danny, calling him out, like, no,
Hmm.
that's not the way it was. I mean, she can literally never control her face. She gives the best face on
Yeah.
TV. But that sort of thing also gets into the jury's perception as well, right? When someone says something and she does the world's biggest eye roll and can't contain how stupid that was or whatever it is, like they see that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
maybe the jury is starting to notice what they didn't see when they were playing with her. But I don't know. She's like I said, she still gets the anytime she says something remotely serious or is upset, she just gets laughed off and constantly with that disrespect. Whereas, others are doing that disrespect towards her. So interesting. We finished the episode with Danny on the end of the votes, Carolyn saving Carson, not needing to by the numbers, but in my opinion, effectively a good play,
Hmm.
and leads us to next week's episode looking like people are actually starting to realize Carolyn could be a thing here. Jam Jam and Carson actually saying, I think she could win. And people are finally waking up after a hell of an episode from her as far as calling out Danny to his face, seeing the Carson move from the others, from what should have been the Carson move from the others,
Yeah.
letting Carson know about it, giving up the idol for him, and making technically the right play, but in effect not. Good episode from Carolyn. Where do you think this sort of leaves the picture heading into the final 6?
I think, see, I don't know at this point. I think that one of, probably more, of the Tika 3 is in the final 3
Mm-hmm.
at this point. I find it extremely unlikely that they're going to be the next 3 all in a row. One of them is in the final 3, and I think it's going to take some badass gameplay to beat any of those three. I think if Carson makes it to the end, I know Chris has been saying, which I still think could come into play. Maybe he's not managing his relationships quite as well as he could. Maybe it'll leave some bitterness in with some of the jurors, but I think that might not come into play. He could probably beat any of them, especially with Lauren and Jamie making moves that I just don't get. I
Mm,
just don't. You know, it's the writing is definitely clearer on the wall than it would have been if they would have voted out Carson.
yeah.
Then it would have been like, okay, there's lots of different avenues that we can take now. But really, I think the only move for those other three is like convince the Tika three not to vote me out, vote one of the others out.
Then
It's
you're
it's
still gonna get to the bottom of that Tika 3, right? Like,
exactly, or you gotta like try to worm your way in with one or two of them and convince them that the third one, take them out at the final four. It's just much more. It's just much tougher. You should have taken them out sooner.
and would any of the others? I mean, maybe Heidi. I don't know, but Lauren and Jamie, like, they wouldn't even have an argument if they got to the end. Like,
No,
how do you get up and
no.
say, like, I was on the wrong side of practically every vote? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
dragged along. I didn't do any major moves. You know,
Yeah,
it's tough. Like, for Tika 3, the Three Stooges came into the merge 3-9, right? 3 to
yeah,
9. That in and of itself should bolster any of their argument. The only difficulty they're going to have is going against each other. If they actually
yeah,
sit with any of the other three,
yeah,
like, it's a lock, right?
yeah. 100%. Like I said, it's going to take some badass gameplay to to beat that. Um, one thing that maybe could throw a wrench in things is, Heidi has an idol. No one knows about it. Nobody knows about it. Um, Maybe she could suss out who is the target next week and use it and then
Play, yeah.
regain the numbers by taking out one of the Tikas. Um, but that's much easier said than done. Uh, just have to wait and see.
So Tika, at the end of this episode, only 2 episodes to go. So we're getting towards the pointy end of the season. Tika looking very good. One thing that makes me worried about Carson in particular for the final three and for the win is that, again, we got the fire in the glasses
Yes. Yeah.
metaphor. It was there again, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like, this guy's making fire 1000%. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's going to be against Heidi, who for the first 6 episodes the only thing she had was that she made fire. Uh,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
true.
Yeah,
Yo. It's
the
totally gonna be those two. What the
I mean,
heck?
I think Carson is a lock to make fire. They've just shown that the
Yeah.
foreshadowing, the Chekhov's fire in the glasses,
So
way
many
too many
times.
times. Yeah.
It's funny because I actually hadn't been noticing it until this episode. Like I saw, like, oh my gosh, they showed so many scenes of fire in Carson's eyes and just him around fire, and I was like, really? And I rewatched it and was like, I would rewatch those episodes, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it wasn't really that obvious in my opinion. But then this episode, it was like, boom, guys, look, there's fire in his glasses. Look, like it was like extremely hard not to notice it.
I think
Um,
it's one of those things where, um, if you have a particular model or brand of car, you see that car out on the road way more often. Like, you
mm,
notice it more.
that's true. Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like, I used to have this thing, and this will show people how a bit of a weirdo I am. I remember when I was younger, a teenager, went to the cinema movies with the friends, and for some reason, this one particular movie, I'd never happened in my entire life, but I just kept watching and realizing that on either side of the screen was the bright green exit signs. And I just couldn't stop noticing this freaking exit sign right on the side of the screen. And it was so bright and green. I kept noticing it over and over again because I'd already noticed it that one time. And then I told one of my friends, I was like, hey, man, I keep noticing that exit sign and I can't stop looking at it. And he just was like, okay, whatever. And we're watching a movie and he's like, that exit sign. I keep seeing the exit sign over and over again. And I'm like, yes, I got him. And every time we go to the movies, one of us would just point out to the other person at some point randomly through the movie, hey, man, you see that exit sign? He's like, shut up. So I
Oh my
wonder if the
gosh.
fire in the glasses is the
That's
one,
now,
once you point it out, then you see it. You know what I mean? You can't unsee it.
I think that that could definitely be the case. Because yeah, like I said, to me, it was like, just like, look at this. Like, it was like they're screaming at me to notice it. But yeah, perhaps if it hadn't been pointed out, I wouldn't have noticed it at all. But I agree. He's a lock in the fire challenge. And I'm now thinking, yeah, it's Heidi. I'm
Heidi.
not sure if you've heard, if you I mentioned it on the pod last week. There's a theory that Carson is going to win the final immunity, but is going to attempt a Chris Underwood
Mm,
and fail and lose.
I hope not.
And I think that would be so sad. That would be really sad, but also kind of funny. It would be kind of funny.
The only like Carson of all the people on the show left should be the last person to do that. He arguably has the best resume to
Absolutely. Yeah.
to put forward to a juror. If it's maybe Jamie Lynn or Lauren or something like that, like, you know what? I've literally got nothing. If I get to the end here,
Hmm.
I'm doing it with like no bullets in my chamber. I
Yeah.
need some ammo. I'm gonna try and do this and do a Chris Underwood as a resume patter. But Carson doesn't need that. He's running the show right now. And if he does that, it'll be the worst play, one of the worst plays in Survivor history, to be able to give up that final spot in order to. Yeah, I don't see it happening. He's too smart. But if people have been spoiled and putting that out there, I don't know. But
I hope not.
yeah. All right, so we obviously end. Danny's home, Danny's out. Carolyn has her celebration fist pump, even kicks the air in. Danny graciously says after doing the world's worst De Niro impression, his De Niro impression, by the way, is only okay because he looks like Robert De Niro.
He does. He looks like a
Yeah, he looks like
younger.
young De Niro. So when someone that looks like me just does it, it doesn't come off, but when he does it, it works really well. So we ended this a really great episode on a high. Danny going home, Tika looking strong, and leading into next week where we potentially might see Carolyn in danger with her Tika
Mhm.
tribe. But let's go through what some of the comments, because we've got a few we probably missed out on, to be honest with you. Going back to tribe, we're going to go a little bit way back here, and I apologize to everyone, but we'll get through some of them. Danica B said, I thought that was so funny when Carolyn was mad at Jeff too. Dolores agreed, saying me too. Dolores saying, do we know how long Carolyn was in there? I wonder if they just made it look like it was more time than it
I
really
mean,
was.
we saw the people like looking around like
Awkwardly laughing.
yeah,
Yeah.
which that reminds me, you remember in Millennials vs Gen X when Hannah did the exact same thing, in like one of the first episodes, she, yeah, is like, oh, who do I vote for? She's like super conflicted, and so she spends like forever in the
Yeah.
chamber. And apparently, I didn't notice this because I don't remember exactly everything about that scene, but apparently they played the same music as
Oh,
that
with
scene
okay.
from uh, from the past season. I think that's hilarious.
Do you think
I
once they get into the booth, they're like everything, like you forget that there's
mhm.
10 people looking at you and
That,
all
yeah,
the you
you're
know
not even like conscious about like, oh yeah, people are like waiting for me. Like,
yeah.
you're just like, no, I'm just my own in my own world. Like, I just need to figure out whose name I'm writing down.
Yeah, Carolyn probably had like the Jeopardy music going in her head or something.
Yeah,
Do, 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 do,
just on a
do,
loop.
yeah. um, Dolores said, "Kahuna, you have a good poker face." I mean, I think so. I like to hope so, but the fact that most people are losing players in the hole probably says, and I don't think I'm particularly special, but I enjoy it. Let's just say that. Whether I'm good
Yeah,
or not is a different story, right? And when I talked about Carolyn doing the counting with her fingers and doing the Spock, Paramount Plus has Star Trek, they could use her hands in a promo. There you go. So, Danica V giving helpful hints and marketing for Paramount Plus, apparently.
exactly.
Dolores backs it up by saying Carolyn has his long fingers. She actually has pianist fingers. I wonder if she plays the piano. I just really wanted to put that up, Dolores, just so I could say penis. Because
I thought that's what you said. I thought that was what you said, and was very concerned what that would mean.
pianist.
There you go.
um, Dolores also said, I wish they would show Ponderosa.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, we get in the Australian one because we have, I think we do get Drury Villa
Mhm.
videos uploaded separately and all that. And I know that Ponderosa used to do the same thing. So,
They don't
hmm.
anymore, which is sad. We could have gotten a Franny and Matt love story, continuation.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
Yeah, they'd have to, I don't know what the
Censor it.
rule. Yeah, censorship. Yeah, but they would definitely allude to that.
They do that thing in the Drury Villa videos for Australia when they show them going back to the Drury Villa. The big thing is like they run around, they go, oh, look at this. Oh, there's chocolates on the bed. Oh, towel, fresh towels. But the shower is the big thing. Like they get back, they want to have
Yeah.
that hot, long shower. And I just wonder if Matt was like waiting for her. Chris, from your lips to God's ears, I need Carolyn to win so badly. That'd be great, obviously, because she's on my fantasy team, which, by the way, I don't have the numbers for. Chris will be mocking all of that up. We'll do that next week or during the power rankings or
Well, I
something.
think
But
it's fair to
you're happy
say.
for us to skip over that, aren't you, Jake?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Because I only have two players left, and I have been trashing on them this entire podcast. Saying, both of us have, just saying like, what were they thinking? They made Carolyn look worse because they made the wrong move. Like, just couldn't be any worse for my team right now, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the end of that. There's no money involved, unfortunately, but there's definitely pride on the line. Dolores said that that kick Carolyn gave was hilarious. Here's your boot, sir, which is that's pretty good. uh, and then Dolores said, Chris, same, but I wonder if jurors won't take it serious. That's what I'm worried about as well. That is our big
That
concern.
would be really, really disappointing if they just kind of wrote her off.
Yeah, like there's so much more to her game, and you know what though? At the end of the season, like that's also a testament to your game as well. We always talk about threat management and how people have to minimize their threats so they don't get taken out. You also have to do things that get noticed to the point where the jury is actually going to vote for you, and it's such a delicate balance between the two of threat management, but also showing I'm actually participating and not just coming along for the ride.
It's such a delicate balance. If it goes even just a little bit too far of like you're a way too big of a threat, then you won't even make it to the end. It's That's like the most important thing in the game.
Lexa had to take on our fire theory. I really think that Carson is going to lose fight to Jam Jam because he also had that fire making storyline at Tika and talked about how good he is at fire. I think Heidi is the decoy. The red herring of the fire maker, and it's actually going to be Tika fire making challenge.
Interesting.
And
That would be a much more interesting fire
well, she
making
actually
challenge.
said we've already seen the fire reflected in Jam Jam's glasses.
Oh, there
So
you go.
the fire glasses is the thing to look out for, apparently. And Jam Jam was a secret glasses person. He didn't have them until like last
Yeah,
episode or something. So, and then
yeah,
they made sure they got the fire. They're like, this fire and the glasses thing. We got to milk this. This is like.
exactly. Yeah.
And Dolores said, Danny, that's why I think against Jam Jam they won't give it to her, but against Carson they may because I think they may think he is too young. Ah, so if Carolyn
Mhm.
sits next to Jam Jam, it's going Jam Jam's way. If she sits next to Carson, maybe Carolyn has a better shot.
Interesting. Hmm.
Good take, Dolores. Well, I mean, we've seen Carson be the guy that builds relationships. Everyone loves him. Jam Jam, I think, has that thing where everybody loves him, but he has put people offside and said some wrong things over time. So that's an interesting comparison. And I would hope, I mean, fingers crossed that the choice comes to Carolyn. Who does she want to sit next to as opposed to who takes her? You know what I mean? Because that's a different thing too. And that could also be the difference between $1 million and nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I just, no matter who she's up against, I just hope that she's just taken seriously as an option, you know, because she does not deserve to be a zero vote finalist against any combination.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. She's been, I mean, really, the Tika three all have completely valid arguments, and if any of them won, you'd be like, yeah.
Hmm.
If anyone else outside of the Tika three won at this point, I'd be like, that's a sham. But any three of the
Yeah,
Tika, like, they definitely deserve it. I think.
for sure.
Lexa backing her claim for Jam Jam making fire. Jam Jam stated how confident he is at fire making the premiere. When
Mhm.
someone is that confident in the premiere, it's usually a good thing. I've got
That's
the
true.
check written already. Yeah, yeah, true, true. Uh, Marianne made a statement that she likes Carson but doesn't want him to win because she wants to be the youngest to win Survivor. She doesn't want to give up that title. It's a good point.
Yeah, that would be for me too, because the youngest I would be um, on the show if I were to get on next cycle, I'd be 21. So yeah, I would want Carson to
Not win.
not be, so I could at least tie. I could at least tie Marianne.
Well, Dolores is calling you out, Jake, for your take that Carson might actually
I
throw
don't
or
I
throw
don't
himself into
yeah.
fire. Jake, really? No way. Carson is too smart to try an Underwood. At least I hope he would not. Yeah, I don't see it happening. Like, you'd got to be.
It was just an interesting theory that somebody brought out. But yeah, now
You
you're
were the messenger, right? You weren't. It's not your
yeah,
theory.
yeah, don't shoot me, Dolores. Come on.
Lexa said, I foresee Heidi winning final immunity and putting Carson and Jam Jam into fire. Jam wins definitely or
Hmm.
defiantly. Either way, it works. Here's some
Yeah,
praise for us, Jake. Kahuna, you and Jake are doing great. Thank you,
thank you.
Dolores. We
Thank you.
very, very much appreciate it. Lexa said, I see no issue with Carolyn taking her time in the voting booth. No rule against it. May as well take all the time you need. If it
That's
freaks out the
true.
other players, all the better. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely true. If there's no rule against it, then take
I
your
was
time.
thinking, like, if you're um on the bottom and you kind of know it's you, why not just like sit in the voting booth for like 45 minutes? Just
You'd be like,
like,
edit this.
yeah, edit this,
I'm
or
doing
just be like,
nothing.
just like have them freak out. Like, what am I doing in there? Am I like crafting an idol? Is there like a puzzle in there that I'm solving in order to get immunity? Like, just anything to kind of throw them off. Like, that
Just take some of the chess pieces. Like, just make
yeah.
some of them gone. And they're like, hey, was there like different
and
things
then and
here?
then just like take it out before Jeff reads the votes and just like start swinging it around, like try to fool somebody else into playing their idol or something.
Jake, I can't wait till you go on, mate. I can't wait till you go on.
I'd do anything. I would just like, yeah, I would just like sit on top of the voting like platform and just like, all right, let's just wait for somebody to come get me, see what
We had
happens.
Dolores saying that she's. I think this is when I started doing the barrel chicken pow pow and talking about Maddie and Franny in the shower because Cass Wash Wash said also not the shower. Like, Christian Gale, big call here. Jamie is in the final
I
three
could see it
as a
totally.
goat. As a goat, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Danica B said Jam Jam is funny and likable, but he's sarcastic and has no problem throwing you under a bus, which could
Mhm.
potentially come back to bite him. And she responded to Christian Gale saying, I would take her too because she really hasn't done anything and they'd have a better chance against her. I really love that she seems genuinely happy. She seems to be a genuinely happy
Yeah.
soul and is enjoying the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, like, it doesn't really seem like she's trying that hard to win, like, which is, like, Survivor's different for everybody, they're out there for different reasons, but um yeah, if
I
we're if
wonder
we're talking about who's going to win, then yeah, she's not really in that discussion.
I wonder how much she knows though. Because there's been so many times, like
Yeah.
even this episode, we got the thing where she's like, "Oh, we're in the middle, and we get to make a decision." And she has that old cliche Survivor thing of saying, "We're running the game. I'm in charge here. I'm the king," and then completely gets the edit where she looks like a dodo, like
Yes.
immediately after. And that contrast edit is always so fun to see. But she's copped it so many times this season. I'm in a good spot here. I know what I'm doing. I'm the MVP because I know
Oh,
everything,
I
and
know.
then yeah, completely gets shattered by the very next scene. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's not looking good for her. But I could see it going to the end as a drag along goat as well, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but I think Jake, that brings us to the end of the episode and the end of our episode.
Yep.
If anyone wants to ask any final questions while you've got me here instead of Chris, I'll take the opportunity to keep it going. And Jake here, but it was a great episode. Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for keeping us going and giving us all the things that we need to sort of. Oh, actually, here's one. Dolores said, Jake, breaking news. Miami's just won.
Good. Hey, good for them. They were only an 8 seed, so that's good. And not really a big fan of the Knicks, so good that they're out. Although I will say, I think it's just a nightmare series over in the West. Two of my least favorite teams, the Lakers and the Warriors. It's just a lose
Well, at
lose
least one
over
of them
there.
is going to take each other out. It's not going to be both of them in
Right.
the conference
But
finals.
then also I don't really like the Nuggets, because they stomped on my Suns. Oh
My,
man. Ugh.
we have an 8th seed in Miami. We have a 7th seed in LA. Like it's looking
Six
it's
seed or 6 seed Warriors. Yeah.
yeah. So this is of course just putting it out there that Jake and I will be starting the next NBA podcast because there's not enough of them out there.
There are so
Lex,
many of them out there.
yeah. Lexa said, I don't believe in goats, and I think everyone who gets to the end deserves to be there. But Jamie and Lauren's faces of confusion during the last few travel counts sadly tell us everything.
Yes. Unfortunate.
That's great. Their looks of faces of confusion. I think that should be a name of an episode
The
just for
faces
them
of
to.
confusion.
Faces of confusion. Christian Gal asked, "When is Chris back? What? When? What are we? Chop liver?
Yeah, come
We
on.
need." Now Chris will be back tomorrow. He's doing the challenge recap, and then he'll do power rankings this week as well for this episode of Survivor, and back to normal scheduled programming next week, I believe, while he's traveling around the states, having a good old time. Before Danica B said, "You guys did great. Thank you so much."
Yes, thank you.
And she also said, "Is it still basketball season?" I thought we are in baseball now, not into sports.
The sports overlap. They do overlap, but yes, baseball did just start, but basketball's still going.
Yeah, we're getting to the good part of it. Just like Survivor, we get into the finals
Exactly.
very soon. 2 episodes to go. We've had a great season so far, and we've still got some amazing players in the game with Carolyn, Jam Jam, Carson. We've got I'm not going to mention Lauren and Jamie, but Heidi could do a thing as well. There's still plenty of potential swings and roundabouts and lots of good stuff to come our way. And even if the producers don't throw twists into the mix, our players, I'm sure, will, Jake.
For sure. I think, at least I hope, they're seeing this and noticing, like, Huh. They actually they're doing fine without our kind of intervention into this. So and they continued. They've continued. I think this is like 4 straight episodes now. Without
Yeah.
any of that BS, and they've all been really stellar. And we're even seeing it, reflect the ratings. Survivor is killing it in the ratings, and I think that's a big reason why they chose to go to 90 minutes because they're like, yeah, Survivor's kind of kicking ass.
You reckon that's the primary motivation? Like, I'm looking forward
I
to it, but
because I think the big thing is that they've struggled with the time slot that's right after Survivor. Um, so they're just like, why not? Why keep like bringing in these new shows when just keep on the show that is actually doing good? Um,
it's all. I think I've also heard that part of it is also due to the writer's strike, that they're trying to get
but
more block of time without as many writers to fill it. I don't know.
yeah, that's a good point too. I was about to say like, but there are no writers on Survivor.
Yeah, that's why you maximize
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a
But
right.
that
Yeah,
makes sense. I was
a
thinking
writer
about it
free
the wrong
show.
way. Yeah.
So that does bring us to the end of the show. A great episode. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I'm excited to have Chris back in the main seat for next week's episode. But we're going to be here live tomorrow for the challenge recap. There'll be power rankings next week. Jake will be back on with Chris doing the next episode of Survivor. But until then, what does he say? He goes, grab your torches, head back to camp.
Yeah.
All right, Jake.
Casey's
Thank you, sir.
Jeff.
Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.